Welcome, electronic video guests, to Volume 1 of the world's greatest books. Today we're going to look at 3 masterpieces of fiction, or even autobiography, if you will, that could be to varying degrees labeled works of autofiction. This is a new series I'm starting, branching out from the trading card and football picks videos I've done. I need some different subject matter to keep myself amused, so I'll be doing some book, movie, TV videos. Hopefully we'll get a few people to watch. If you like the video, please hit that like button, maybe become a subscriber. If we get a nice little positive feedback, we'll be doing some book giveaways in the future. Also, just so I know what type of reader we have watching these videos, put down in the comments field a hashtag followed by the title of your favorite book. Hashtag and the title of your favorite book, just so I know what you all like to read, if you do read. But let's get started with our first book we're going to look at in the world's greatest books, Volume 1. The first one we're going to look at is this, Journey to the End of the Night by Louis-Ferdinand Celine, certainly one of the 3 or 4 greatest novels of the 20th century. This one is a novel that follows the life of the author Celine's alter ego, Ferdinand Bartholomew, a man who is disillusioned with the world and its values. The novel is full of dark humor and cynicism and offers a bleak view of humanity. You know, this term autofiction been recently popularized by the works of Karl Ove Knausgaard. He wrote a massive 6-volume set titled My Struggle. And I don't know if you've read that, but they call it autofiction. It's kind of regarded as a newish novelistic technique. It's a genre of fiction that blurs the lines between fiction and autobiography. Kind of a metafiction that uses the author's own life as a starting point, but then takes liberties with the truth in order to create a work of art. Well, that's what we could well describe Journey to the End of the Night. With the exception being Knausgaard's books choke the reader in ultra-realism, while Celine does his work with surrealism, absurdism, and comical nihilism. As much as I admire Knausgaard, who's probably the foremost chronicler of our broken, unsatisfying Western life, I could easily just sit in a corner and dwell on my own life as read all 6 volumes of this, which I did do, by the way. Celine, on the other hand, he exaggerates our unhealthy Western life to such a degree we can view it from a distance and not vomit all over ourselves. Anyways, you can probably gather from the comments so far, one of the main themes of the novel is the futility of life. Bartholomew sees the world as a place of meaninglessness and despair, and he struggles to find any purpose in his own life. He constantly searches for something to believe in, but always comes up empty. Another of the novel's major themes is the corruption of society. Bartholomew sees the world as a place where people are constantly trying to take advantage of each other. He sees no real value in human relationships and believes everyone is ultimately out for themselves. The characters in Journey to the End of the Night are all deeply flawed. Bartholomew himself is a selfish, cynical man, and he's surrounded by other characters who are just as bad, if not worse. The novel is a scathing indictment of humanity it offers a very negative view of human nature. You know, Celine often said he claimed he wasn't a Christian or a believer, but he often said what made Christianity greater than any other religion was that the gospel just took man's nose and rubbed it in his own worthlessness. So in that regard, we can well agree with the author's point of view. Well, Journey to the End of the Night was considered a controversial novel when it was first published, and it remains controversial today. Some critics praise the novel for its honesty and its unflinching look at the dark side of human nature. Others have condemned it for its nihilism and its bleak view of the world. Despite the controversy, Journey to the End of the Night is considered to be one of the most important novels of the 20th century. It's a powerful, disturbing novel that offers a unique perspective on the human condition. First published in 1932, Journey and Celine's follow-up, prequel of sorts, Death on the Installment Plan, chronicle the emergence of the modern capitalist age from the turn of the 20th century to the beginning of World War II, stretching across the battlefields of World War I Europe, colonial Africa, and industrial America. There's probably only one other early 20th century novel that more accurately forecasts our contemporary meta-modernist age we currently find ourselves in. Let me see if I got that one. That's this one right here. If we do more of these videos, we'll certainly get around to this one. Probably the greatest single novel of the 20th century. But do yourself a favor if you like, if you have a bleak opinion yourself of humanity, I think you'd enjoy this novel. Check it out. Next up, we're getting something not quite as dark, a little more light in it. Where's our next book we're going to look at? Next up is this one right here. You probably heard of this. Jack Kerouac. Now, his critical reputation probably has not held up as well as Celine's, and that's too bad. I think he's generally considered a bit of a lightweight nowadays, but kind of a literary curiosity from a bygone era. A lot of folks are only casually familiar with him and associate him as a hippie, which he was definitely not. He detested hippies. Kerouac was a beatnik. His heyday was the 1950s. Now you can tell he had read Celine and been influenced by him. His works reflect the same restless, wandering search for meaning, but like I said, in a far less dark fashion. On the Road, which was published in 1957, is another piece which could be labeled autofiction. It's a work about two friends, Sal Paradise, that's Jack Kerouac's alter ego, and Dean Moriarty, who is based on the real-life Neal Cassady. They travel across the United States in search of meaning and adventure. The novel is considered a classic of the Beat generation, and it has been praised for its lyrical prose and its depiction of the American counterculture. One of the central themes of On the Road is the search for freedom. Sal and Dean are constantly on the move, never staying in one place for too long. They're searching for something more than what they can find in the traditional materialist American dream. They want to experience life to the fullest and to live outside the constraints of society. Another theme of On the Road is the importance of friendship. Sal and Dean are fiercely loyal to each other, and they rely on each other for support through thick and thin. Their friendship is tested time and time again, but it always survives. The main character of On the Road is Sal Paradise, like we said, Kerouac's alter ego. He's a young man searching for his place in the world, idealistic and romantic. He believes in the power of the individual to change the world. Sal is also a talented writer, and his observations about life on the road are both insightful and humorous. I don't think Kerouac is given enough credit for his cultural criticism of America, which he expressed not only in On the Road but several other equally fine novels of American restlessness. You could easily make the case Sal Paradise and Neal Cassady, who self-medicate with alcohol, marijuana, hallucinogenics, and casual sex, avoiding so-called honest work, are the prototypes of the Adderall, ADHD, narcotized modern Americans of today, grandchildren of the Beat generation, as disillusioned as their grandpa Jack Kerouac, who ended up dying of alcoholism while living with his mother, but not nearly as hopeful as finding any meaningful alternative lifestyle, and certainly far more isolated in this our electronic age, lacking the close human friendships of the Beat generation. On the Road, classic of the Beat generation. Check that one out if you haven't. You will certainly enjoy it. And now, speaking of auto-fiction, for our last book in this first volume of the world's greatest books, we're going to show you this one right here. It's billed as an autobiography. All I Need Is Love by Klaus Kinski. This is not really auto-fiction, but this guy's one of the most extreme individuals of all time. You see here I only have a Xerox copy of the book. This so-called autobiography is so nuts it's not even published anymore. You can only get used copies and at a very, very high price from online booksellers, at least in the U.S. I got a copy from the library years ago and was fortunate to do so. The library here has since taken the book out of circulation. I made a copy before I returned it. Klaus Kinski's autobiography, All I Need Is Love, was published in 1986. It's a candid and outrageously lurid account of the actor's life, from his childhood in Nazi Germany to his rise to fame in world cinema. The book was met with mixed reviews, to say the least, with some critics praising its honesty and others criticizing its sensationalism. One of the most controversial aspects of the book is Kinski's portrayal of his relationships with women. He describes his mother as a cold, abusive woman and his father as a weak, ineffectual man. He writes about his many affairs and marriages often, I shouldn't say often, always in graphic detail. He confesses basically he would fornicate with whatever woman was handy, regardless of appearance, hygiene, age, weight, race, etc. If she moved, he was ready for her. Another controversial aspect of the book is Kinski's discussion of his drug use. He admits to using a variety of drugs, including cocaine, heroin, and LSD. He also writes about his experiences with mental illness, including depression and schizophrenia. This is a fun read for sure. The book is written in a wild, manic style. It reads like a shout of rage against the world. Many figures in the film industry are merely referred to as the director, the actress, the producer, as he invariably rails against their stupidity and artlessness. Now, one name that he does mention in the book is the great German filmmaker Werner Herzog, which of course Kinski does not think he is that great at all. We're going to put up here a couple little pages, couple of the only pages that we could probably show on this without risking some type of obscenity, but it's just so you get an idea of his writing style and what he thinks of Mr. Herzog. Go ahead and pause that if you want so you can read that, and I'll put up just a little bit more so you can get an idea of his opinion of Werner Herzog and his writing style. So if you want to pause that, you get an idea. Like I said, those are about the only 2 pages we could actually probably put on the screen. But All I Need to Love, if you can get your hands on a copy of it, is one of the most fascinating things you'll ever read. I guarantee you that. It's a jaw-dropping read of the life of one of the most enigmatic actors of the 20th century. The book's publishing history is also somewhat controversial. Originally published in Germany in 1986, it was not released in the United States until 1992. The delay was due to concerns about the book's content, which was considered to be too explicit for American audiences. The book has also been the subject of critical scrutiny. Some critics have accused Kinski of exaggerating or fabricating certain events of his life. Well, that's why we can say it's a work of auto-fiction. Others have criticized the book's lack of structure. That's a fair criticism. The book simply ends. If you start reading this thing, thinking at some point Kinski is going to take a pause from his ranting about the horror of the world and offer some self-reflection, I'll give you a spoiler right here. That's not going to happen. The book just ends at one anecdote. There's no indication that this thing is about to end or has reached a logical concluding point. He just stops, exhausted from rage, I suppose. Ultimately, whether or not All I Need to Love is an accurate account of Kinski's life is up to the reader to decide. And does it really matter? I am remembered of Antonin Artaud's answer when some dull literary critic dared to ask him if his biography of the Roman Emperor Heliogabalus was true. Artaud answered, "What does it matter? I have created something beautiful." And that's what we can say about Klaus Kinski's All I Need Is Love. It's beautiful. Maybe a beautiful nightmare. If you can get a copy of this thing, and you're not easily offended, you're in for a treat. Well, my friends, that concludes Volume 1 of the world's greatest books. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button. Consider becoming a subscriber. Like I said, we'll try to do some more of these, also some movie and TV videos. And then also one other thing, like I said, just so I can get an idea of who's watching this and what type of stuff you like to read, get down in that comment if you don't put a hashtag and then the title of your favorite book. Now, for those people who did happen to wander through this and have seen some of my trading card and football picks videos, don't worry, we'll have more of those very soon, God willing. Until then, remember, enjoy the rest of your life.